Today's gospel lesson comes from Matthew 25, 1 through 13, the parable of 10 young bridesmaids. At the time of the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 young bridesmaids who took their lamps and went out to meet the groom. Now 5 of them were wise, and the other 5 were foolish. The foolish ones took their lamps, but didn't bring oil for them. But the wise ones took their lamps and also brought containers of oil. When the groom was late in coming, they all became drowsy and went to sleep. But at midnight there was a cry, "Look, the groom, come out to meet him." Then those bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamps. But the foolish bridesmaids said to the wise ones, "Give us some of your oil, because our lamps have gone out." But the wise bridesmaids replied, "No, because if we share with you, then there won't be enough for our lamps and yours. We have a better idea. You go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." But while they were gone to buy oil, the groom came. Those who were ready went with him into the wedding. Then the door was shut. Later the other bridesmaids came and said, "Lord, Lord, open the door for us." But he replied, "I tell you the truth, I don't know you. Therefore keep alert, because you don't know the day or the hour." The word of God for the people of God.
Give me oil in my lamp, keep me. One. Give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning. You know this. Give me oil in my lamp, I pray. Give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning. Keep me burning till the break of day. Got a question for you, though. When you think about the 5 foolish women, do you figure that they were thrown out in the outer darkness, or left out in the outer darkness, that it was their own darn fault? How many of you think they got it because they deserved it? Darn, there goes my whole sermon. You all have been well trained in the power of grace, and I'm going to have to rework the whole thing. There's a lot of things in the Bible about being thrown out. Remember the story we had a few weeks ago about the guy, the king who gave a wedding banquet for his son, and all the people he invited had really good excuses. So he invited everybody off the street, but there's one guy who wasn't wearing his wedding clothes, and he gets pitched out into the darkness where there is moaning and gnashing of teeth. Now, we sometimes take these too literally. We concretize these parables. They're just parables. I mean, we try to think of how did those maidens come to not have oil. They came to the party, they brought their lamps, but they didn't bring any oil. They made a foolish mistake. We all get tied up in times when we're rushed about and hurried about, and we wind up making a foolish mistake. It reminds me of the lady who lost her husband, and he'd made her promise. He wanted to take it with him, so he made her promise to put all of his money, their money, in the casket with him. Well, she got busy and all befuddled and hurrying this way and that way, and she forgot all about it until the funeral. So she wrote a check and tossed it in the coffin. This thing about being thrown out, left out, locked out, we concretize it into the idea that at the end of life, we either go to heaven or hell, based on a choice we make in this life. Now, Mark Twain said it's heaven for climate, hell for society. But is that what this is all about? What is going on here? Is this about these huge ideas that we have to wrestle with? Is the preacher going to give you the answer? Stay tuned next week. Same time, same place. No. It's about deadlines. It's about deadlines for making the right decision. It's not just death. Death is certainly a closed door. And after that, we don't know. So what you do before you die is important because the door closes. But we have other deadlines. My son Matt here is a Title I teacher of math up at Burlington. He's got kids who are behind in their math skills. Some are very behind. Some because of injury or problems, actual physical problems. There's one kid who's had a head injury, and he wants to know it, but his mind has a hard time, brain has a hard time wrapping itself around the concepts. He's working hard at it. It's still struggling. There's some kids who just live a crazy, chaotic life at home. You know, there's a bada bing, bada bang, and nobody's supporting them. And none of us get to choose our parents. When you think about it, your parents is the luckiest thing in your life. And there are some who have just given up on life, and they're the Joe Cool leans against something and crosses his arms and says, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, it does. Matt tells me that when they're in the 8th grade, if they flunked math in the 9th grade, freshman in high school, you flunk math, and your risk of failing school altogether goes sky high. Becomes almost certain you're not going to make it. Because one F leads to another F leads to, doesn't matter. A deadline. My sister writes for the New Mexico State University, and she has one lady that's driving her crazy, a writer. This woman does not understand what deadlines are. You know what a deadline is? It's that the editor has to have it in his or her hand on a certain date because there's typesetting to be done, there's composition to be done, there's printing, there's shipping, there's all these things before it actually comes out. Everything has a deadline. Dead line. And evidently these young women didn't seem to know that. They go to the wedding, they wait for the bridegroom, but they bring a lamp and no oil. You know, a lamp without oil is not even a lamp. Dead line. And we have deadlines all through life. 8th grade is a deadline for math and organization skills. High school graduation, that's a deadline for parental care and direction. And then they're gone. And it's like letting go of an arrow, and you can't do anything from then on. And then there's choosing to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. And that's a deadline we face every single day. And I'm not talking about you might die. I'm talking about you will die. Every night you die, and everything behind you, everything in the past, it's gone. It's done. You can't go back. And so the next morning, it's time to choose to bring some oil with your lamp. The door will lock. You never know when or how. And that's a little late. So what caused these young ladies to be left out in the dark? Why? They weren't thrown out there. They were out there because why? They left to get some oil. They went out to the 7-Eleven to get some oil. They needed a light. And they went out into the dark. And they got trapped there. When in that room and with that, who is that bridegroom? Who is that groom? Jesus Christ. Hope of the world, my salvation. He is the one who died, who crossed the ultimate deadline for us, that we may have eternity open to us. He is the light of the world. And they went out in the dark to get some oil when they had the light of the world with them all the time. That's how come they were foolish. They thought, like we do, that oil is something out there separate from us, and we have to go get it. It's very scarce, and it costs a lot of money, and all these things we do. And yet Christ is already in our midst, and He is the light of the world. He says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And that's what it is. Following Him is the light of life. There is no darkness around the groom. Just wait for it and accept it. Because He also said, remember in the Sermon on the Mount, He said, you are the light of the world. Now the question comes, do we hide it under a bushel? A basket? No. I'm going to let it shine. Jesus said, no, you don't put a candle under a bed or under a basket and hide the light. You lift it off and you put the light on a lampstand so that all might see. What about the oil? Christ is the oil. Christ is the light. And it's part of your choice every single day.